So Tshepo, companies have set targets for themselves, whether it's reducing of carbon emission, their transition journey. But one of the things that also keeps popping up is hydrogen, and green hydrogen to be specific. So I mean, what is the role that hydrogen plays in this carbon emission or energy reduction role?
So hydrogen has been in the market before, but the way it was produced, it used to be grey hydrogen, majority of it, which is hydrogen produced from natural gas and through the reforming process. But with the transition and the moving to the green economy, low carbon economy, there's different ways now of producing hydrogen, and green hydrogen is a much cleaner way of producing hydrogen, which you use renewable power and then you do electrolysis of water. Why is that important? Is because hydrogen by itself is an input into ammonia production, into petrochemical companies, the production of chemicals, and so in refining. So now the introduction of a cleaner hydrogen into those companies will actually decarbonize their processes and actually result in greener products.
And I'm assuming a lot of this needs funding. So there's companies that, as you said, it's existed before, but now it needs to increase the scale. So there's a lot of scaling up that needs to happen. And in order for that, you need the financial institutions to play a role. So they need to play a role in the sector. So, I mean, from your perspective, what role do you think banks or financial institutions at large can play in the green economy, green hydrogen economy?
As I have said, so the hydrogen production process has been there. So the reforming process is there, the gasification process is there, just that they're high emitting. So now we need to move into water electrolysis, which is mostly small scale at the moment, majority of which is at lab scale, at pilot scale. And so now we need much larger volumes of these type of productions to come up. In Europe, there's a couple of them that are ongoing, but not to the scale where you actually need to decarbonize the whole world and actually achieve net zero carbon neutral. So one of the things that as financial institutions we need to do is we're going to have to play in different ways. So as particularly the venture capitalist part of financing is to fund these projects from the initial stages. So you're going to need a lot of patient capital there, taking a lot of risks there, but fortunately there's a lot of climate funds, there's a lot of funding available there, transition funds to accelerate these type of projects. But you also have corporates themselves where they are raising funding themselves to transition or reconfigure their own processes. We have a lot of companies within our country, as in South Africa as well, where companies are raising green loans, green funding to reconfigure some of the processes, because what you find is that some processes that you have already, they just need the input, the energy input to change, and therefore you can produce green hydrogen. So we'd also need to accelerate the issuance of green loans, funding transition, providing transition finance, providing venture capital finance. Also, one of the key things we do as financial institutions is to pool different funding sources and then source them and then pool them, because then you can introduce blended finance where you have concessional funding, long tenured funding, grants as well, and your typical vanilla loans. I think in looking at this new economy is blended finance, I think will be one of the key things to do in this type of transition.
Okay, you've touched on this a bit, but maybe let's speak a bit more about it. So how companies and either owners of these projects also get themselves up ready to be fundable or to be in a state where either venture capital, so financial institutions or companies are willing to offer them funding. So how do they get themselves ready for this?
So majority of them are not there yet, so they're still at pilot phase. So one of the things that we do especially within RMB as well, the ESG and sustainable finance team, is on an advisory basis to help them with bankability of these type of projects, the way to scale, because what's fortunate about this technology is it's modularized. So you can actually fund them to say, okay, start in this module or compact it this way, and also what scale to start up with so that you get rid of the teething problems, and also geographical location. So in South Africa, we have special economic zones. So in there, the corporate tax is slightly lower, and therefore it enhances the financials of the projects itself. So you're going to have to do that. Also, the sourcing of material, we have a lot of supply chains problems right now. But I think how we accelerate or enable this economy is we not only play the financing role. I think we're going to have to participate because of the experiences we have in project finance, in funding these type of projects, is also the advisory role will be quite key. Particularly the lessons we learned from the REAP program will actually help us a lot in the green hydrogen economy as well.
Okay, thanks, Tshepo. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, but it does sound like even a lot of the projects that are even in pilot phase are doing something.
Yes.
And it's not just the companies, but it's also banks and financial institutions, because it is a topic and it is also something that we need to find a way to try and accelerate to the extent possible.
Yes, for sure. Because I mean, if you look at the strategic integrated projects that came out last year, you'll see a lot of, especially the last chapter, a lot of projects that are in the green hydrogen. South Africa has made it clear that green hydrogen will play a role. There's a nice report that came out from Department of Science and Innovation that outlined up to, I think, 2050 or 2040, how South Africa sees the green hydrogen economy by playing a role in the country. We have also the EU. They are looking at 40 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity by 2030. That's quite a lot. And South Africa is almost the same quantities. I think we're looking up to 10 gigawatts. But what you're finding is, from a country perspective, the country has made it clear, South Africa, that green hydrogen will play a role. You see border Africa as well. Countries like Namibia placing themselves strategically for green hydrogen production. Egypt as well is doing similar things, and the EU, America has also mentioned that. So you're seeing from a country perspective, it's clear that the countries are doing this. You have a lot of companies that have announced that green hydrogen will play a role one way or the other in their economy. We have motor vehicles manufacturers that are providing green hydrogen fueled vehicles. You have corporates themselves that are saying, to decarbonize our operations, we're going to use green hydrogen. So you're going to see that the green hydrogen economy will be quite integrated in the future of a lot of economies.